It's October the 12th, 2021, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I am Gerissar, a PvP Padawan.
Yeah, I'm Bigmoran. I play the most overpowered healer in the game right now.
Hey, I'm Alex, aka Stahp, and I play Shatterproof, which is also pretty overpowered.
Indeed it is. And I play Disc Priest right now, so kind of.
Very honest. Very honest healer.
I didn't say I played it well, so that's why I'm a Padawan. But hey, guys, welcome to the show. I'm super excited for this one. Thank you, Stahp, for joining us and being willing to imbue your godlike knowledge of Shadow Priests onto us and the rest of the people that decide to listen to the show. I guess right before we start, though, on the rest of that, why don't we give you the chance to tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Alex. I've been playing WoW pretty frequently over since the pandemic. I think I came back right when I was unemployed. Basically, started gaming really hard. I got rank 1 the last season of BFA. I started streaming a lot over the last year, and I got rank 1 last season as well. And I just love gaming. I love PvP. It's so much fun, and try to stream as much as I can. Outside of WoW, I work at a ski resort. I live in Vermont in the beautiful Green Mountain State.
Nice.
It's the fall foliage is peaking right now, so it's really beautiful outside. I love to go snowboarding, and when I'm not gaming, I'm basically out in nature. So that's pretty much day in the life for Stahp SP on the mountain.
So do you do like videos and pictures like Venuruki does from like the hilltops and the mountaintops, or
yeah, well,
if we go to follow you?
He's a really good photographer. I don't have like sophisticated equipment for that. I do have a GoPro, so I have like some snowboarding videos. I'm not insane by any means, but yeah, I do follow Ben on Instagram too. He's out in like Alberta, I think.
Yeah, he does the foothills and the mountains just by southern Alberta. Well, I'm just wondering, like, because I know he does it on Twitter. Do you have like a Twitter or something like that where we can find that stuff or other things about you?
Oh yeah, I have Twitter. It's at spstahp, and then my Twitch is Stahp SP, and YouTube is Stahp SP. So they're all like pretty similar. Name and Shadow Priest. Yeah.
Nice. Because you like Shadow Priest. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey. I make a lot of like instructional videos and guides for Shadow Priest. So I guess that's available to people if they want that.
Nice. Well, and that's why we reached out to you is A, you like do that, and B, you know so much about Shadow Priest. All the more reason to have you on here to talk about it, right? So that's awesome. I guess like we usually like to talk about what we've been up to the last show. So that's about the last 2 weeks. I think we'll start with you though, Alex. What have you been up to these last 2 weeks?
Oh man, dude, Korthia every day. Like I wake up, I get my coffee. I'm like, we're going for like tier 6 today. I try to get like 1,000 rep a day. So that's 1 hour out of the day. Then yeah, I said I work at a ski resort, so it's I work at like in banquets, and I do bartending for weddings and stuff, and work with like really large groups of rich people that get shit faced. So that comprises a bit of my day, and then I generally come home and I stream like around midnight or whatever time I get home.
Oh
from those events. Yeah,
that sounds like fun. That sounds like I don't know what else to say about that. What better way to spend a day than Korthia, than watching a bunch of rich people get shit faced and then playing more WoW?
Yeah.
So seriously, how do you feel about Korthia?
Dude, it's like a puzzle, man. It's so cool. Like there's just so much to do. I feel like I can never get bored. I'm like always trying to find the next mushroom. It's really fun to have that to do every day. Nice. And I didn't realize that you need like a super map to be able to do it. So I recently got all the add-ons, and I'm just trying to lie to myself and motivate myself and say that it's fun because it's really horrible. But
you had me sold there.
What I'm trying to do. Yeah.
You had me sold there. I thought you were for real there.
Right.
Huh. All right, you caught me with a bit of beer in my mouth. Big, how about you? What have you been up to these last 2 weeks?
Honestly, I haven't been playing much WoW. The patch has kind of been going on for a while, so it's kind of feeling a bit burnt out. But in real life, I'm going to be moving actually this weekend, so that's always exciting and terrifying. So just been looking for houses, honestly, past 2 weeks, and that comes with it comes with its own. That's Corthy in real life. You just have to look. Instead of using an add-on to find mushrooms, you used Craigslist or Zillow or whatever to find people who won't respond to you. So yeah, it's
oh gosh,
it's been but luckily I found a place, and so I'm gonna be moving this
good.
weekend. So
Nice.
excited. Yeah.
I'm happy for you because I remember seeing. Well, I remember you telling us the news that you were getting evicted.
Okay, I'm not getting I wasn't getting evicted.
Wow. The person the person that was renting to you was no longer going to rent to you. The landlord
Right.
kicked you out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
guess-
it was the
it
equivalent of whatever you want to call it. I don't like to think I was evicted,
Okay.
but I was a good guy. I was a good tenant.
You got ring appeased out of your apartment.
Yeah,
How's
that's
that?
right. Yes. How about that's good.
the landlord kleptoed your lease. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Make it WoW related. All right. Well, I guess flip side to me. I so throughout most of the pandemic, I've been working from home, which has been really good because I can. I would not that I would ever play World of Warcraft on a computer while I had my other work laptop sitting beside it doing emails or anything like that, because that would be immoral of me. But I was definitely more active and whatnot. But the last 2 weeks, I've had to actually be going into work every day, so didn't really have as much time during the day to do all the WoW chores that I would like to do, like Corthy and that. And then this weekend we had Canadian Thanksgiving, so I think I gained about 5 pounds on just one meal between the ham, the turkey, and the stuffing, and all the fixins and everything. It was a heck of a meal. So I will say that was pretty much what I've been up to these last 2 weeks. And then I guess one last question: did anybody get anything good in their vault today?
Oh, dude, I didn't check.
Oh,
What if there's like What if there's a socketed piece on the other side?
Are we gonna get to see some live cheers or live disappointment here? Are you gonna check
Live
it?
Disappointment. I'm gonna leave it open ended. If I never open it, like there's always something great on the other side. So
That's true.
just
That's true.
keep it there.
All right. How about you, Big?
I haven't checked yet either, and you know what? I'm gonna start looting those little currencies and just holding on to them, because I have a hunch that they're gonna allow you to use whatever those currencies are called to like buy conquest or honor for alts at some point.
Oh, that would be huge.
I'm hoping they do that, but we'll see.
I don't know.
Might as well stockpile those now. Buy low, sell high.
The long con.
That's right.
I don't know. I wish they'd find a way for us to, with some currency, do something with conquest and honor points just to help boost a little bit, especially on the alts. But I think that's just a dream. I don't know if we'll ever see that. But
Yeah,
well,
such a shame.
oh, it is. I really wish. But I guess let's stop considering what might actually happen in this way, and let's go into some need, greed, and pass, and see what Big has for us to roll
This
on.
likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
All right. So Big, why don't you tell all the lovely people what you came up with for our need, greed, and pass tonight for us to choose from. So actually, it's Alex, just for you. So how this works is we're going to give basically going to come up with 3 options with a little scenario behind them. And you're going to have to pick one to need on, one to greed on, and one to pass on. And then we'll do turns. Hey, you don't have to go first. Whoever goes first. And also, you folks in the chat room and listening at home right now, feel free to type into the chat your need, greed, and pass choices. And if this is after live, feel free to write in on our Discord server. And we have a live channel there, and you can go ahead and give your opinions there. So, all right, Big, on to you. You give us your thoughts.
Okay, so this is something I think is going to be in the game eventually. It's been teased. But imagine you could combine your current covenant with another covenant. So I know Stahp over here, he likes Necrolord. So Necrolord can now be combined with any of the other covenants. So I want you to choose one that you're gonna need, which is like your main choice. Which one do you agree? It is like, oh, that would be kind of cool, but not my top priority. And then which one do you pass? So I'll go. I'll ask Alex first. If you could combine Necrolord with any of the other 3 covenants for Shadow Priest, which one would you need? Which one would you agree to? Which one would you pass?
And can I double down on Necro?
No,
Oh.
no.
Well, since you know Necro is my default, and I would do anything for the Primus because he's my one true savior.
Yes.
I think that Venthyr is definitely the second best, but there's also a really good argument to be made for Night Fae Shadow Priest too.
Mm.
Those 2 offer mobility in arena, which Shadow Priest has none. So those are two options that would be fun to play around with if you could swap back and forth.
All right.
Oh, I just realized. Does Fae Guardians do anything really good for Shadow?
It's
Or
more of a utility spell for your teammates, I think. Like resetting combustion with a mage, or vendetta for a rogue, or something like that would be beneficial. I haven't actually played Night Fae. I know that it was used for. I think you also get a bark skin, right? You get like a damage reduction from it.
yeah, Unpowered Shield. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that's just more utility, which Shadow Priest already has. So that could be cool, I guess.
Hmm.
Right.
So hold on. So if I understand correctly, so you are Necro, and then so which one out of them would you actually need on though? Like which is the one other one you'd put with that?
Oh,
Or
I
did
would
it-
probably take. I would take Venthyr.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be Venthyr if I could be both, for sure.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Big? I'm gonna ask you. I need to think about this.
Yeah, so I'm currently Necrolord on a Resto Druid, and I think Night Fae would be loads of fun. Like I primarily play 2s, and I'm always jealous when I queue into another Resto Druid that's Night Fae and has Convoke, because it looks so fun, especially with the Legendary being able to do it every minute. So I think I would
Mhm.
need on Night Fae. I think I would agree on. I think Venthyr is probably way undervalued for a lot of things in PvP.
Mhm.
Like I think the Druid, I think it's called Ravenous Fury. That would be really fun as Boomkin. And then I would just pass on Kyrion's really boring. I think Kyrion's the most boring covenant, so I'd pass on Kyrion easily.
Okay. Huh. So I'm gonna admit, this is the one thing I have no idea what the other covenants bring to Disc Priest. I haven't even looked. So I'm just gonna go strictly on aesthetics. So right now I'm a Venthyr Disc Priest, and I'm gonna need on Night Fade, just assuming that I get the travel form, because being a sparkly travel form is just really pretty, and I like that idea. Especially trying to run around some of the Covenant spaces in this town with, just have that other mobility, because I really don't like. I'm a dwarf too, so it's just slow. I can only angelic feather so many times. And then, so that's gonna be my need. So let's hear what does that leave me. So I'd have to greed on Necrolord then, because big green bubble, and just like the heavy metal theme on that, I just love it. And yeah, that's gonna give me a pass on the Kyrian then. I don't trust the Kyrian anyways. All the stuff that they went through, and then and all the BS. Yeah, I'm just gonna. I don't trust them. That's me.
I like that.
Boo, Kyrian, boo.
One thing that Night Fade Disc Priest also gets is like really crazy mana regen. And there's been a
really?
shift in the top priests on the ladder that play Discipline. Like Disc, usually think of it in Arena as if you don't win in the first 2 minutes, you're kind of screwed because you go out of mana so easily. So Disc Priests are playing Night Fae, and I don't know what the ability is, but I remember I was facing one the other night, and they're like 3,200. And I looked at the mana restored, and he restored 50k mana which is like, what is that? How much of a mana bar is that? It's like your whole mana bar pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he restored his
max.
whole mana bar in like a 7-minute game. And there was never a moment where I felt like we were about to win on mana. We actually had to kind of adjust the playstyle of just doing damage and surviving to like actually doing what you can to set the kills up. So it's a little bit less aggressive without the mind games and the Door of Shadows for the fears, but you do have that mobility, like you said, so you could still like blink and fear people. And also combining that to get drinks, like use the mana thing and then run away and get a drink. Like that's something I think we'll see a lot more people switch once switching is easier to play Night Fadis Priest for sure.
Nice. And that's actually a good point. And actually in the chat, they said utilization of the Door of Shadows is underrated. Personally, I would love to push the button, but I find that every time I go to try to push it, I'm either kicked on it or I'm too busy trying to just like heal myself and not die. And I just go into panic. I'm just in panic mode. So, but yeah, no, the Door of Shadows. If I could use Door of Shadows to set stuff up, I'd probably actually be like God tier disc priest instead of turd tier that I am right now. But all right. Hey, again, thank you everybody who is joining in to the discussion in chat. And if you are sitting at home right now after our live recording and you want to chime in, go over to the Discord, into the Technically PvP channel there, and by all means, tell us what you would need and which one you agreed and which one you would pass. In the meantime, we are going to get into our WoW PvP events and talk about what's coming up in the near future. If I can do that correctly. Let me try that one more time. Why is this not working? It's not working. That's okay. All right, into the... You guys don't get bumpers. That's okay. Here we go. WoW PvP events. Boilerplate stuff. We got Dalaran Gaming is still doing his 5v5 1v1s sporadically. So go and check out his Twitter feed like always. And go and, if you're not watching, go and play. Right? They look like they're quite a bunch of fun. It just puts you together, or show up with 5 people if you can. But duel it out and see who comes out on the top. As for the other stuff that is less consistent, we have, well, actually I guess that's not true because Oasis community is being quite consistent now with their 2v2 tournaments. So they have one coming up. It's going to be on the 22nd of October. DPS only teams with a solo queue. So there's a link in the show notes, or if you want, you can just go over to the Oasis Discord and they'll have the sign up information there. So again, you just sign up as yourself. They put together in the teams, and this actually has a set number of people that can sign up, a fixed number. So first come, first serve. So if you want to go check that out and give yourself the immortal knowledge that you won or competed. Well, hopefully you win. On the 23rd of October, I'm going to be hosting another pet battle tournament. I'm bringing those back. So if anybody wants to know about those, by all means, check out on our Twitter. We have a little piece of information about it there. And sign up. Simple little 3-pet team tournament, single elimination, and winner takes all of the kudo points. And back to the Oasis, on the 10th to the 12th of December, they're going to have a Keystone Builders tournament. So this is going to be kind of like the great push that we saw the MDI do. So you start off with a key, and then you just keep running keys until you are able to get get the highest level. And as far as I know, it's the highest level timed wins. There's some point systems there too. All right. And last but not least, there is the actual official Blizzard tournaments. The last of them is going to be the Mythic Dungeon International Global Finals. And that is the 29th to the 31st of October, right here at the end of the month. So they're going to be doing that on YouTube as always. And you can go there and watch to see which 5-person team ends up taking the final win of those crazy mythic dungeons. That's all I know. Does anybody else know about anything else going on out there for events or anything like that?
I haven't heard of anything really.
I feel like we're kind of in like a stale part of there's no AWC. There's not a lot going on.
No, there's not. I was really hoping there'd be a few more community things. I've heard some whisperings of some other stuff, but I just can't find any information about it. So I guess if you at home know of something, by all means, let us know, and we will shout it out and help promote it as best as we can. But I guess that's about it for that rundown stuff. Now let's get into the actual meat of this show, into the subject analysis, and we'll start picking Alex's brain about Shadow Priests. All right. And somehow I've broken all of my my bumpers. They're not working for some reason. All right. Okay. So much for that. I suck at this podcasting thing, but we are going to triumph on, and we'll talk about Shadow Priests. So yeah, sorry, I'm a little confused as to why this is kind of pissing me off, why that's not working. But okay, so Shadow Priest. The last time we actually talked about these was in March, back in 2019, and yeah, we were actually talking to CMG, but we were actually talking about we weren't talking about Shadow Priest directly. We were talking more about the comps that Shadow Priest could be in. But since then, I mean, we've had a huge overhaul of Shadow Priest, right, for Shadowlands.
Yeah, shout out Mr. Kaliki.
No kidding. So I guess the easiest thing would be what changed? What's the major differences between what we're used to seeing Shadow Priests be in BFA to what they are today?
Okay, so in BFA and I think in Legion 2, when Void Form was introduced, they made it so Shadow Priest had stacks in Void Form. And basically, you had this insanity bar, and you had to keep pressing abilities. But if you ever didn't press enough abilities, you would lose your Void Form stacks. And until the stacks got to a certain point, the damage wouldn't really be that meaningful. Like, you would get more haste per stack that you get in Void Form. And the big problem with Arena is like, okay, I go into Void Form, and then Rogue Kidney shots me, and then I lose all of that time that I spent trying to ramp up my damage. And I think PvEers and PvPers were both like pretty disappointed with this because it was just a huge issue for Shadow Priest maintaining stacks of Void Form, and it felt like nothing that we did was really meaningful until we had sufficient stacks. So Shadow Priests were just not the best like burst damage dealers at all in BFA and in Legion. Most of our damage came from like using trinkets or essences in BFA. And what Mr. Kaliki did was he was like, you know what, we're going to throw that out the window. We're not going to worry about maintaining stacks. We're just going to kind of put it as a flat cooldown that's just going to buff your spell damage, and it's going to be similar to Dark Soul. It's not purgeable, but you press this button, and basically for these 20 seconds or however long it lasts, let me check the tooltip. Void Eruption, I think it's 20. For these 20 seconds, you have access to more damage. You do more. You have different abilities too. You have Void Bolt, which is going to also give you more damage. You get like 10% increase based on your talents. And you're able to also now have Devouring Plague, which was, I think, something everyone was super excited for because that had been missing from the game for so long. And Kaliki gave us that back in 9.1, and if not 9.1, sorry, in Shadowlands. And if you looked at the breakdown of a Shadow Priest, it was like Devouring Plague was owning you all game. And Shadow Priest, I think, were top tier in PvE because of Devouring Plague. So we saw it get like gutted after gutted. They nerfed the PvP talent that extended it, which gave you a lot of damage. They also flat nerfed the damage, and now it seems like it's not doing that much. So we have Insanity, which is a resource bar, and all we can really use on that is Devouring Plague, and it doesn't really do that much anymore. So
that's bad.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. But Kaliki also introduced some really awesome new talents to the game. We have Damnation, which instantly applies our dots. So in a world where there's 40 interrupts and Eartheli stuns, we can go out and get our dots out right away. I think that was just like a huge quality of life change.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another cool interaction with the Unfurling Darkness, which is once you cast VT, you can instantly get your dots back up again. So this is just really friendly against the teams with a lot of interrupts. You can instantly dot two people without having to worry about getting interrupted. And I think Kaliki saw how weak Shadow Priests were and how vulnerable they were to getting interrupted, and he gave them these really good tools to be able to like navigate the high intensity world of interrupts and getting shut down. So he made the game so fun. I mean, the Shadow Priest, every priest that I know that started playing in Shadowlands, they're like, wow, this is amazing. It feels like our damage is meaningful, and we can do stuff outside of void form. So we're super sad to see him leave,
Yeah.
knowing like how many cool things he did for the game. It's just that's a huge L for the priest community. But hopefully they don't change anything for a long time now, because he did a great job right now.
Well, I mean, considering how often they revamp classes nowadays, you guys should be good for about 4 expansions.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, Shadow Priests have been like their design has changed dramatically over every expansion. Like, you know,
yeah.
Wrath Shadow Priest is way different than Kata, which is
Oh,
way
yeah.
different from it's absolutely insane how
Completely.
like I think Shadow Priest is probably the spec that has changed the most in its design over the game's history.
Yeah, I agree.
Would it be fair to say though? I think it was like around WAD when they went through there was a change. They were being changed, and then it was like it was almost like the developers stopped making change. They didn't finish the change. They were like doing a major revamp, and then they like stopped short, and then it just got put out as like as like a broken spec. It didn't really function well, and I think it was like Legion. Then they band-aided it. I'm pretty sure it's WAD, and then Legion they band-aided it some more, and then BFA was just another bastardized version of it. So I think this is like the first in several expansions that people have said that it's really well done. It feels good. It flows, like it makes sense, and that it's not God. Like, I mean, it's really powerful, but you can still counter it, right? So it's not BM worthy, I guess. But
Well,
am I wrong on that?
I think Shadow's a very honest PvP spec. Like some classes have like really gimmicky kill setups, or like Red Paladins, for instance, are kind of gimmicky. Like they have one big go, and it's like if you die, you die. And like Windwalkers are kind of the same way. I think Fire Mage is really broken, but it's hard to really pinpoint at what exactly is broken about Fire. It's kind of like everything all at once. But Shadow is strong, and but it seems really honest. Like it doesn't really kill you with any gimmicks. And I'm wondering, do you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a hot take. I think it's actually like the most balanced, good, popularly represented spec. Like you're saying, if you look at how you die to other classes and you compare it to how you die to a Shadow Priest, if you look at your death log, you're gonna see like a bunch of little tiny hits. You're not gonna see the 30k execute or the 25k Templar's verdict. It's all these these little predictable attacks that don't really global you in a sense, but the consistent pressure does add up. There are there's parts of Shadow Priest that I think are definitely broken, like being able to purge infinitely. That shouldn't. I don't think that should be in the game. I think everyone agrees with that. But for the most part, I feel like the damage, and they're definitely like you said, they're counterable, right? Like there's a reason why WizK doesn't win every AWC. It's because the Windwalker targets him and Spinning Crane kicks him, and like that's the unfortunate reality of the game right now.
Yeah. All right. I like that. That's a really good take. And now I kind of want to stop playing Disc and go become a Shadow Priest. So, all right. Well, I guess why don't we? I mean, obviously you're a damage dealer. What else? What else does a Shadow Priest bring to the arena team, though?
So I always try to like talk about it like a support class. I don't play League of Legends, but I have before. So I tell people like I'm like the support. I'm there to help set up the kill. I can still kill someone myself if I have to, but I'm mostly there to like support my team and make sure that we get through the game safely. You know, I'm trying to prevent CC on my healer. I'm trying to stop damage from the enemy team, using my positioning with life grip to avoid damage. You're always kind of in this mindset of a healer, which is why I think a healer can actually be a really good Shadow Priest. Like if you're used to playing Disc, you'd definitely swap over to Shadow, because you have that second part of your brain that's thinking like, okay, what do we need to do to survive here? And Shadow Priests have probably the largest toolkit. Maybe Ret Paladins also have like a semi-large toolkit, but we have Mass Dispel to remove CC. We have a improved MD as a new talent, so we have every 15 seconds, provided that we have the mana, we can remove CC on our teammate with a wicked fast cast. You have to be like 14 and on Adderall to kick it. I already said life grip, so that's another one. We have life swap if you choose to talent into it. That's a really powerful talent into fire mages, just to kind of give you that extra survival attempt on a combustion.
Mm-hmm.
You have purge, so you can purge offensive damage cooldowns like Dark Soul, Power Infusion, all that stuff. You can really just like slow the game down as a Shadow Priest. You have spammable CC mind control, so if they're not on you, you can say make a cool play where warrior drops Pure Bastion, you mind control the warrior, and then your mage can walk out of it without getting sucked back, because the spear then becomes your team spear rather than the enemy's spear. And there's just so much you can do to really kind of keep your team in the game, and that's kind of the headspace I'm always in. Is like, all right, what do I got to do next? Like, I know my healer's about to get trapped. The trap's in the air. I grip him away from it, and it's stuff like that that makes it fun to me to be able to make those plays and keep the team in the game, pretty much.
I love it. It's so many different gameplay options there too. It's not just being kind of just flat out smorking and just like the Molina,
Right.
just DPSing, but you're busy doing all this other stuff to keep the game going rather than just I say like so you're interweaving your DPS in between doing all that, or is it just like kind of set up some dots and then do the support and then go back to refreshing the dots?
Yeah, it's definitely like keeping your dots up and dealing meaningful damage. But then I think the second aspect of what makes Shadow Priest so fun and viable is your instant crowd control. You have 45-second cooldown on a stun and a silence, and then your fear's a minute cooldown. So naturally, any caster that has that amount of CC is going to fit well with like every other class in the game. I mean, I've probably played with, I'm not even exaggerating, like 10 plus classes above 3K rating, just because it always seems to work out. It's like, okay, I play with a rogue, I have CC for the healer, he has a stun for the enemy. I play with a mage, like I stun the guy in place and he one-shots him with combustion. Like there's just, when I say you're a support class, you're there to help set up the kill. So I'm gonna CC everybody so that my partners can one-shot them. Meanwhile, I'm trying to put out that like just enough damage to the point where they're like actually killable.
Okay.
I guess I'm not gonna really global someone, but I'm gonna keep the healer having to consistently heal. I'm gonna purge the enemy's heals, and ultimately look for those windows to line up my CC with my teammate's CC to try to win the game.
Nice. I like it. All right. I am okay. Hey, Big. What about? Do you have any suggestions or questions?
No, I think what Alex said is absolutely right. Like I've always viewed Shadow Priest as kind of like the sub rogue of casters. Like it helps set up it provides your team with a really obvious win condition. You know, the stun silence combo. You know, you can, it's like the bread and butter setup that works with so many other classes, so many other specs that I think that single combo is like what defines Shadow Priest in, you know, in the current meta. And I think having the spammable offensive dispel is really strong. I think it's probably one of the like low key strong things about Shadow Priest, and I wouldn't be surprised if its mana cost gets increased in the future. But I think like those, just having an offensive and defensive dispel with the stun silence combo like makes Shadow Priest really solid in so many different comps. So really cool spec if you ask me.
Yeah,
Nice.
the purge is easily the most. I would say if they would fix one thing, the purge should no class should be able to do that. And it's not just Shadow Priest that can do that. I think it's also what is it, shamans? What other class can spam magic dispel? Maybe it's just shamans and priests right now, because I know mages are pretty limited as to how many times they can purge. But it's not fun to try to heal with. If you're playing against Shadow Priest as a druid, that's just like, it's like whack-a-mole. Every time you put up a hot, it just gets shot down.
Yeah, it's annoying.
I guess because I don't think a disc priest can spam. I'm pretty sure it's on a cooldown.
you
It
can.
just uses a lot of mana for the Disc Priest is going to go but
Yeah.
there's never a point, like I can press Purge, I want to say like 400 times in a row without it ever saying I don't have enough mana. That's not going to happen as a healer, which doesn't make sense to me really. You get punished for that as a healer. And if you think about the healers that are the strongest right now, you see a lot of Resto Druids. Shadow Priest's very good into Druid because of that Purge. Even Shamans are pretty popular. I wouldn't say they're like the best, but you do face a lot of Shaman cleaves. And having no Riptide and no Earth Shield permanently on the target you're attacking just makes them so much easier to kill. Like all that passive healing is negated throughout the game.
Wow. I just that's yeah. There should be a bit more punishment on that.
Mhm.
All right. I think can we talents? I mean, we know talents are super important for classes. It's what makes a class really give it that extra feeling, right? Not just picking a discipline, but actually making some choices in between it to help bolster it and give it some nuances in PvP and PvE. So, do you mind if let's roll through? Big, do you want to start with the first tier and kind of roll through those different choices, and let's see what you picked there, Alex, and why?
Mhm. Okay. I like this game.
Yeah, so for the first tier, you have Fortress of the Mind, Death and Madness, and Unfurling Darkness. So which one do you pick between those three?
I think it's a completely safe pick to always play Unfurling Darkness. That's just too good not to have. Unfurling Darkness is basically when you apply, it was what I was talking about earlier. If you apply VT, your
Mhm.
next cast is instant. So you use that first Damnation, which applies VT, that's instant cast. And the second one, you instantly dot the other target without having to worry about interrupts. It's also just really good because sometimes you're trying to dot a healer and they're line of sighting. You can just get that instant cast right off onto them. And the initial hit of the Unfurling itself hits pretty hard. Like I'll dot someone and then apply that second proc just because it does hit pretty hard.
Mhm.
And then if you looked at the other two talents, the reason why you don't take them, one of them is if a target dies within 7 seconds after being hit by Shadow Word Death, the cooldown of Shadow Word Death is reset. Like, okay, you just killed someone with death, like you won the game. Great. You want to death the next person as they're AFKing and leaving the arena. It isn't. Maybe it's good for BGs or whatever. I use it in Torghast, but it's not really going to help you in arena. And then Fortress of the Mind, in the meta where you get kicked and die, trying to have more incentive to cast is not good. It seems like being mind flaying and mind blasting is going to put you in a bad position more often than not. And we already talked about purging. Those are pretty much my globals when I don't have voidable or instant damage. I'm purging. I'm not casting mind flay, or mind blast. So those are two reasons why you don't take those two talents.
Okay. You don't mind flare or mind blast?
I do mind flay and mind blast, but it's just such a. I mean, if you're playing a caster comp where you're not worried about interrupts, and like say you're playing with a warlock, and every team's going to tunnel the warlock. I have seen people play Fortress of the Mind, and I used to play it in BFA, I think, with a lot of haste. But
Okay.
you're getting 10% more damage on an ability that you don't even use. Like if I let's look at my last recount. I casted 3 Mind Blast, and how long was this game? I casted 3 Mind Blasts in a 7-minute game. So would having 10% more damage on those 3 Mind Blasts that only hit for my highest Mind Blast was 3,000. So
Yeah.
would adding 300 damage to that Mind Blast be more meaningful than having better dot uptime? Probably not.
Yeah, fair.
But
Okay. I know that 20% extra insanity also,
mhm.
that's kind of a tantalizing. I
Yeah.
could definitely see what you're saying about the death and madness though. I think that would be very, very good if you're going to be in like the scrum kill team of an RPG. But I can see
Mhm.
what you mean. Like that's in arena. That's especially if you're doing twos. Like,
Yeah.
uh, all right. What about on the next tier there? You got the body and soul, which is always the famous. You shield somebody and they get to run faster. The Sand Lion, where your vampiric embrace is reduced by 45 seconds and increases the healing done by 25%. That sounds kind of tantalizing. And Intangibility, where your dispersion then also heals for 50% of your maximum health over its duration and it's reduced by 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The disperse one, it's like I almost wish that was just default so that you could play around with those other two because they're also like those. That's a really good talent tree right there. Like those 3
Mm-hmm.
talents all on their own are really good and effective and have their own place in the game. But because you're often the target as a Shadow Priest, if you're playing with a melee DPS, usually, which is what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
it's too important not to have that disperse heal and reduce cooldown. I've tried playing without it, and it doesn't feel good because you can't rotate your cooldowns properly. If their burst comes up and your disperse is still on cooldown for 10 seconds, it's hard to toss that one out of the window. But there
Mm-hmm.
have been instances where again, I'm playing a caster comp, I'm playing with a mage or a warlock, and I realize, oh my god, they're just tunneling my guy into the ground. Like, what can I do to help him? Having body and soul would actually be really helpful to run out and get more CC and have more mobility throughout the map. And then the sand lane, I don't know how to you say it, but in the middle, that one is also super strong because V is great healing. I use that in RBGs pretty much every time. Whenever I'm in void form in like a team fight, I throw out Vampiric Embrace and use that, and it's crazy healing. You can definitely keep people alive with that.
Wow. That would be okay. I never thought about that. That's awesome. Hey, sorry, I'm dumb. What's the normal cooldown for for dispersion without the 30-second reduction?
So it's 90 seconds with reduction, so it would what be 2 minutes with
120. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Hey, Big, can you do the next one?
Yeah, so the options are between Twist of Fate, which is when you drop someone below 35% health, you get 10% damage increase. Misery, which is when you apply VT, it also applies Shadowward Pain. And then Searing Nightmare, which I'm not familiar with this one. Looks like it does some AoE damage, and it's an instant cast ability, and does some more damage if there's Shadowward Pain on the target.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever used Searing Nightmare in PvP. That's a straight up Mythic Plus talent. And as far as I know, it's only good to do if you're hitting 3 or more targets with it. So in arena, like 3 players aren't going to be standing next to each other, and you're not going to be able to channel a Mind Sphere, frankly. So we don't play that one. Twist of Fate, I've never really played it. It used to feel pretty good, but when they introduced Misery, that just saves you so many global cooldowns. Like instead of having to cast VT and then press Shadow Word Pain, you put up VT and Pain is instantly on. So then you can go back to purging, you can go back to your DPS rotation, Mind Blast, Mind Flay, whatever. Just saves you so much time, and it's like a quality of life talent. And I think a lot of people, if they tried to play without that, would like literally not use Shadow Word Pain. It would feel really awkward. So that's a pretty safe pick every time, I think.
So
I never edit that one in arena at least.
So if you cast Damnation, which puts so that puts Shadow Word Pain, VT, and Devouring Plague, but then you have Misery, which also then applies Shadow Word Pain, and if you add Unfurling Darkness, which then makes the next VT instant cast. This okay. So you do Damnation, dot somebody, they get a whole bunch of the dots. Then you have a free VT, so then you VT somebody else, and it gives them VT and Shadow Word Pain. Then.
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
It's a cool interaction between all the talents, and honestly, I see
that.
I could see that getting nerfed. Like at some point, like it's super forgiving. Like you can, as a Shadow Priest, you can go out and press all of your cooldowns without having to cast, and I feel like that. If the meta wasn't so fast and bursty, I would say like that should be changed, and it kind of takes the skill out of like fake casting in arena when you have this opportunity to just apply all your damage and the other team can't do anything about it. Like part of the reason why you tunnel a Shadow Priest is to stop their damage, and if they're just instantly dotting you anyways, and they have Necrolord Shield and Disperse and Fade, like what's the point? So I literally would be okay if they either nerfed the internal cooldown on Unfurling Darkness, which is only 15 seconds, so essentially it's up every time you press Damnation, or if they just like did away with it completely or introduced something that was more meaningful than the other two talents. Yeah, it kind of takes the skill and fun out of it, I think.
Yeah, I think if they're going to do that, they'd have to revamp a bunch of other classes too.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. So you got Last Word. So your silence is reduced by 15 seconds. Your Mind Bomb, which replaces Psychic Scream, and after you inflict somebody with Mind Bomb, and after 2 seconds, or if they die, then they unleash the explosion, and everybody within 8 yards of that person are disorientated for 6 seconds. That doesn't seem right in PvP though. I think that's reduced for the time frame. And then Psychic Horror, which it's the Terrify, right? So it stuns. It's a stun for 4 seconds. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's on stun DR. Yeah. Mind Bomb actually, it is still a 6-second CC, but it's not used too often, and it does break on damage, and it doesn't remove dots. So if you have dots on someone and your teammate has dots, it'll break. It's not used too often. There's a couple of situations where it's good. that I only would use it if you're using it on cooldown, because if you don't use it on cooldown and you're not getting that 6-second CC every 30 seconds, you have more CC technically with horror, silence, and your fear, because my mom takes away fear. So if you don't have enough, since it's a dispellable debuff, if you just put it on a healer and dispels off cooldown, they're gonna press their dispel keybind and they're not gonna get CC'd. So you have to use it off of CC. And since the only CC we can then use it off of is either stun or silence, which is a 40. Oh, sorry, you lose stun. The only thing you do it off is silence, which is a 45-second cooldown. You have to rely on your teammates to actually use it.
Mhm.
So it's good. It's good with Windwalker monks and hunters because they can either incap or trap every 30 seconds, and it's a separate DR. So it's really fun with a hunter. You can have every time you get the 8-second trap plus the 6-second mind bomb. It's just a really long, reliable CC chain.
Mhm.
But if you're playing with other classes, it ultimately feels bad to use. I don't often run it. It's rare that you see people playing it, and it is on that fear DR, so you wouldn't want to play it with like a druid or a warlock, for example. Last
Yeah.
word is a interesting talent too. I would play that maybe in a comp where you have too many stuns and you don't need a stun, but often I find it's better to have the psychic horror. I
Mhm.
used to just play last word with a rogue, and like every time he would kidney, I could basically silence. But now it seems like since assassination rogue doesn't have enough CC for the healer, I play psychic horror just for more CC. So psychic horror, like 10 out of 10 times for me. But the other talents have their use in very specific comps and matchups, I think.
Nice. Thanks for that explanation. I appreciate that.
Yeah, maybe
'Cause
I'm
I-
going too into it. Sorry. I just wanted
No,
to
no.
say the talent. And then,
No. This is great.
Yeah.
This is great. I
Okay.
love it because I remember Mind Bomb being quite effective and people liking to use it very often. So I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised to see Psychic Horror was more often chosen according to some of the write ups. So I was kind of
Mhm.
wondering what had happened there. But that great
It
explanation.
used to be it used to not break on damage, and it used to be a stun, which is why I think people used it. But
Oh, that would make sense.
now it breaks on damage, and it's a 2-second debuff. So if you use it, they have to have no dispel or be in CC, and it just makes it like a little annoying to use. Like I'll use it, and there's times where it comes off cooldown, but I can't use it until my silence is up 15 seconds later. When I would also just have psychic horror too, so it's just that it's a finicky talent, and it has its place with certain comps for sure.
Nice. I love it. All right, Big. Back to you, buddy.
All right, so for the next tier, it's between Auspicious Shadows, which increases the damage done by your shadow apparitions and increases some insanity generation. Psychic Link, which converts some of your, your Mind Blast deals 50% of its damage to targets affected by your VT, so you get a bit more cleave. Or you get Shadow Crash, which is an AoE spell that you can put on the ground that does quite a bit of damage and generates a lot of insanity.
Yeah. Shadow Crash is definitely the pick there. I think that's actually your hardest hitting ability outside of maybe I think it even hits harder than Void Bolt when you're in Void form, or Mind Games probably hits harder, but Shadow Crash is really effective on demand burst damage, and the damage doesn't split, meaning if there's 4 targets down, it's going to hit all of them for 8k instead of dividing it like to 2k a person. So
Oh, really?
that talent feels super good. It is kind of fun to play. It's like a skill shot. You have to actually like place it, and it shoots in the air. It has travel time, and it deals damage when you hit them. So they have to actually be in it when you use it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're struggling to land them and your aim is bad, then Auspicious Spirits is really solid damage. That talent also might be good if you're playing like a triple dot cleave and you want to just kind of rot people down, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a conduit called Haunting Apparitions, which increases the apparition damage by 50%. So you can stack those up and get a lot of just added constant pressure, but then Shadow Crash is going to be more like on demand burst when you need it rather
Mm-hmm.
than just passive damage over the course of the game. So I always play Shadow Crash. There's probably a case for the other one in certain comps. So
A quick question from chat. Are you obliged to say Kobe when you Shadow Crash?
sometimes I do. Like sometimes you can like aim it when someone's running away and they're at like 1%, and you shoot it behind the pillar, and I'm just like, oh, Kobe. But yeah, for sure. Like it has. I mean, it's not hard to aim. The thing has like a massive radius. Like you would be pretty bad if someone was staying still and you missed it. But it is fun when I can see someone kiting and I shoot it in the direction they're kiting. and then they land on it and it hits them. I've seen it hit upwards of 10k in void form. So
Oh,
it's a
that's
pretty like
incredible.
that's your hardest
Yeah.
like hitting ability for sure. And the middle talent Psychic Link, Mind Blast dealing 50% of its damage to all other targets. Like I said, you don't Mind Blast that often. It isn't like it used to be scary. If a priest was casting Mind Blast, you were like, oh, kick it, I'm scared. But now it's just like it's a tickle. It
Yeah.
doesn't really do much. So adding 50% of that Mind Blast is virtually nothing over the course of a game.
It's a 2-finger tickle instead of a 1-finger tickle.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Oh. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. Would that not also would that be, I guess, a bit better in something like again back to RPGs where you have more than just a couple?
Oh right, yeah.
Would that be better, or is it still just like it's still just a bunch of tickles?
Nah, like the Shadow Crash, like I said, is still gonna hit
It would hit more.
all the
Yeah.
like if everyone's stacked up and you hit, it's my tooltip. Just looking at my gear, it says 4,000, and then obviously if you crit or if you have other damage, amps, void form, all that stuff really adds up. So if you hit 10 people for 4,000 as opposed to hitting 10 people, like one person gets mind blasted for 2k and then the other like 10 people get mind blasted for 1k,
Yeah.
you're gonna do 40k damage as opposed to 11k damage.
Yeah.
So it would just they would have to massively buff Mind Blast for these other talents that incentivize Mind Blast to be worth it. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So damnation is in the next tree, which we've talked a ton about. And there's also that's compared to mindbender, which replaces your shadow fiend. So you can summon a mindbender to attack for 15 seconds, and has a 1-minute cooldown. And then also you generate some insanity from that. And then void torrent, which is a 30-second cooldown and channels a torrent of void energy, dealing a whackload of damages from spell power over 3 seconds, and a whackload of insanity if you're able to channel it. That's a 3-second cast, though. That's is it worth the risk of getting kicked?
It's well, ideally you use it when there's no interrupts, because if you get kicked on it, then it's not worth taking. But it also scales with haste. So if you void torrent, that 3-second cast with like power infusion, and I'm also troll mail. I'm just gonna plug myself. I'm the highest rated troll mail in the world if you sort the ladder by troll mail. So when I press PI, my haste goes up to something like 71%, and it makes my void torrent a super fast cast, and it deals more damage because it's scaled by haste. So it's really crazy burst, and people like always want to pick it because they can see like how, oh my god, my camera, sorry. They can see how hard it hits, and they want to be able to like swifty one-shot people.
Yeah.
But like you said, like it's hard to, if you're not using it on cooldown similar to Mind Bomb, it's not worth it because you're gonna get more damage out of the other two talents. So
yeah,
what I typically recommend is for people to only play it against teams that have limited interrupts. So say I queue into Ret Paladin, Shadow Priest, Holy Paladin. There's one interrupt on the whole team, and if we're stunning the Ret when we do our burst, I know I can always void torrent because we eliminate that kick. So that would be a good time to take that talent. It's also worth taking if you're playing a caster comp, like if you're playing with a mage or a warlock that's getting trained, you can get distance and easily use it when you can't get interrupted. That's for sure the highest DPS and burst output in terms of the talents.
Yeah.
A lot of people take Mindbender, and you can kind of turn yourself into a BM hunter because you use your necro ability, and your legendary summons a little pet. I call him Jamal. He's my boy. He comes out there and starts shooting bolts. And then you also get Kevin's Oozling, and you get Psyfiend and Mindbender. So yeah, you suddenly become like a BM Hunter Shadow Priest, where even if you get CC'd, your Mindbender is glued to them for 15 seconds and is pumping. And there's also conduits that amp Mindbender. So you'll see a lot of Shadow Priests playing that in 2v2. In 3v3, it really comes down to being able to keep your dots up. So Damnation is like, I pretty much always play that with a melee. And then if I'm playing with another caster, I always play Void Torrent. So it's going to depend on your comp and your playstyle. You might be able to get away with Void Torrent at lower ratings where people maybe aren't ready to interrupt you or they're easier to fake, but a really good team won't let you just do the Void Torrent.
Can you have a Psyfiend and a Mindbender up at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
the Siphon lasts for 12 seconds and the Mindbender's for 15. And the Mindbender, like it does a lot of damage, but something also to keep in mind is it's CCable. Like a mage can Nova it. It can be slowed, it can be kited. If it's not like on the target, it's not doing damage. So it can be bad in certain matchups. And if you're just ever in a situation where you're getting interrupted a lot and your dots aren't up and your DPS is low, you need to stop playing Mindbender and Void Torrent and play Damnation for sure.
Gotcha. I like it. All right, Big, you get the last row. You get to close this out.
All right, so your choices are between Ancient Madness, which when you select this, Void Form increases your crit chance by 30% for 15 seconds and slowly reduces. Or you got Hungering Void, which makes your Void Bolt make the target take increased shadow damage for 10 seconds, but can only be on one target at a time. And then Surrender to Madness, which is that weird, goofy talent where you become like this crazy thing and you can cast while moving, you can generate insane insanity, but then you'll die if you don't kill anyone when it's up.
That one is super sick. So this is actually a really cool last row because they're all super good. And I change them all the time. So I have to be careful, like when the gates open, like which one am I playing? Ancient Madness is going to be really effective in bursty comps, like when you're playing with a mage and you need to, you don't do a lot of consistent pressure, but then you win in those like quick isolated windows. You want to play Ancient Madness because it's just guaranteed, almost like a guaranteed crit once you press Void Form and then mind game someone. If you have a little bit of crit and then add 30%, it feels like you're always going to crit. So that's really good if you're Venthyr and you're playing a caster comp. I mostly play Hungering Void just to add more consistent damage. A lot of the comps that I play, it's all about keeping pressure on the enemy team and forcing them to kind of go. That's mostly the win condition of some Shatterproof comps. Unfortunately, since you don't have that crazy one-shot potential, you need to kind of rot them down slowly. But Surrender to Madness is actually really interesting because you can use this on totems, you can use this on pets, and as long as you kill the target, you will gain a Void Form. You basically get an extra Void Form on a 1.5 minute cooldown. So when a Resto Shaman uses Healing Tide Totem, I use Surrender to Madness and I press it, and it basically one-shots the totem. And since the totem dies, I don't have that chance of like, oh, I'm going to die 30 seconds later. I still get extra Void Form damage, and it just does so much extra pressure for your team. And then also, Shadow Priest are horrible at killing Siphon, so I always take it into other Shadow Priest so that when the Shadow Priest Siphons me, I can surrender on the Siphon, and it basically one-shots the Siphon. Sometimes I have to throw in an extra global or two. But Surrender to Madness is a free Void Form on a 1.5 minute cooldown against classes like Shamans that summon totems or Shadow Priest with Siphon. And that's not something I've seen any other priest do. I think maybe CMG did it back in the day. And I know you guys talked about having him on. I actually used to play with him on my mage. He was so helpful to me, and I think I learned a lot of Shadow Priest just playing with him because we got super high rated playing my mage together, and he's such a good, smart dude. So shout out to him for probably pioneering that movement because I'm pretty sure I did see him do that, but I haven't seen anyone do it this season. And there's a really funny clip too, if I could maybe link it in the channel, where I was playing the Surrender talent, and you never want to use it on a player, right? Because it's going to kill you if you do. But I was in a situation where I thought I was going to actually win the game because someone was so low HP that I was like, whatever, I'm going to send this extra damage and we're going to win right here. And then we didn't win and I died, and the other team was like so confused. They were like genuinely like, he died. Like who did that? Like they were trying to figure out like who one shot the Shadow Priest. But it is worth mentioning that there's a PvP talent now called Megalomania, which instead of killing you, it brings you to 35%. And I think a lot of people jump on that one. But you can actually get away with playing Surrender without sacrificing a really important PvP talent. So I don't know if you guys plan to talk about the PvP talents, but they're they're always they always are being changed up. And they in 9.1 they got a bunch of new additions, which has made it super fun.
Nice. I need to figure out how to let you put this through. I don't know how to.
Oh, I can link it in Discord. Maybe you can link it.
Yeah. Okay. I have moderation, but I don't know how to. I don't have the moderation window up, so I don't know. Yeah, if you just DM it to me, I'll put it in. Anyways, that's hilarious though. The fact that so it happened.
Yeah, and the other guy on the enemy team, like the clip is from the other team's perspective, and he's like later in the game or later once they realize what happened, he's like, "Well, I kind of respect that." Like he went all in there. It was like do or die, you know?
Yeah, do it or don't. Yeah. Is there? Here's a quick question. Just completely just to break this up for a sec. Is there any other than this memorable moment? Is there any memorable moment where, I guess, win or lose, but something that just really sticks out in your brain box of the, I guess, more, within those last 2 seasons that you've played as a Shadow Priest, that you're like, oh man, like that was awesome, or oh man, that was, I should not have done that.
Oh, in terms of that talent,
No, just in general. Yeah.
I think. Fuck, well, sorry. One thing that always happens to me with mind control is I disconnect when I mind control the enemy. I'll make a sick play and I mind control the target, and then the healer uses the cooldown on themselves instead of the enemy, or instead of like my enemy. So he'll be like a monk will try to cocoon the target that I'm mind controlling, but since he's targeting an enemy, he cocoons himself, and then I'll disconnect, and then they'll kill me while I'm disconnected. And now I'm always like hesitant to use mind control because I literally, it happens all the time. I mean, the MC bug seems to be fixed where people like aren't lagging around, but
Yeah.
I always disconnect with mind control. And then one other thing I always do that I always regret is I start mind controlling someone on Blade's Edge and I go to jump them off and I like press strafe and jump at the same time. And then they get dispelled or they trinket, and then I jump myself off the bridge instead. And I have to walk all the way back up the bridge.
Classic.
So yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, I MC'd his trinket, like we win the game, or I MC'd the cocoon, I MC'd the spirit link, and then other times it's like I'm disconnected and we lose, and I just jump myself off the bridge and I can't get back up.
Oh,
I liked some of the clips that are on your channel when you were when Void Volley first got introduced.
Yeah.
I think it was way overtuned or something.
That was a high, yeah. That we were living like kings when Void Volley. I mean, it got nerfed by 15%, but I feel like they also like kind of messed with the distribution of the radius and everything. But yeah, I was basically going in and one-shotting people like a Ret Paladin, and no one understood what was happening because no one paid attention to the Shatterproof changes. And then they quickly nerfed that, which is sad because they didn't really do a lot of other tuning. But yeah, that was fun.
There's a Vanguards clip, I think. He killed Vanguards like in the opener, and he's like, what happened?
Yeah. There's actually one where I was like spam fearing Jamilian. I think it was his first time facing the talent, and he was like, "What is this?" He trinketed and got feared again and just died, and it was like, I don't know. Yeah, they needed to fix that. I don't play that talent anymore, but yeah, that
sounds like fun.
It was fun. I had my week of being like a completely broken one-shotter.
Well, talking about Void Volley, why don't we actually get into these PvP talents then? So I mean, so serious. So we got quite a bit. There's Driven to the Madness, Greater Fade. I think everybody knows what those ones are. Improve Mass Dispel, awesome. Megalomania, Mind Trauma, Psyfiend. Talked about that one before because it has a Mortal Strike. The Thought Steal, that one's really fun. That's the newer one with Shadowlands too. Then you got the Void Origins, Void Shield, Void Shift, and Void Volley. So I think the easiest way to do these is always, which are the ones that people should just ignore? And then we'll talk about the ones that people should pay attention to.
That's a great one. Okay, probably the worst talent and sentence ever written in the whole game of World of Warcraft is Void Shield. Like that just is completely useless. No one is ever gonna like look at that and think, oh sweet, I'm gonna use that. Mind Trauma also ignored just because we talked about Mind Flaying isn't very practical in the current state of Arena. It used to be really good when we had a lot of haste and we could stack it up really quick, but the chances of you fully channeling 3, or it stacks up to 8 times, the chances of you fully channeling 2 Mind Flays back to back is just not practical. So we're going to ignore those 2.
Okay.
Mostly because the other talents actually provide something meaningful. Like every talent is good in its own way and would have its own role in the matchup. And if I could play, like Shatterproof would be broken if I could use all of them at the same time. They did a really good job with the recent overhaul, adding some new talents to really like make you like, it feels like you're making a trade-off. Like, this team could train me. I might really want this talent, or this team might go on someone else. I might need this talent. So it is fun to have this extra element of strategy in your back pocket to try to mess up the enemy team. So
All right.
yeah, those two we won't use for sure.
Okay. I love it. This is the part that I'm getting the feeling for this class is that it's not just cookie cutter. There's all these different meaningful options depending on what you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
which is what is just so much better than some classes where it's like, yeah, I picked this and I forget about it. But so
Yeah.
so aside from the two mind trauma and void shield that you never pick because whatever. So let's talk about the other ones then. Like, is there? There's a lot left, and you only have 3 to choose, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do we pick?
One of them is a hard lock. I always pick this on my bottom row, Greater Fade. I never change that. I just like looking through the first 2 to change them. You always want Greater Fade. It's good defensively. It's good offensively. You can just do a lot. You can outplay opponents. You can immune CC. You can get extra mobility for fears. You can negate damage. You can prevent maledicts. You can just do so many cool things with it that it's like too good not to take. They even nerfed it from 4 seconds to 3 seconds, and it's still like really good. So we pretty much always want that one. I think
Yeah.
a second one that's becoming like a pretty much a hard like always take to is Siphene. It seems to just be so strong right now,
Mhm.
and a meta where everyone has so much self healing and there's a lot of tankiness and kind of like passive conduits with like passive healing. Siphene
Yeah.
seems to be really instrumental in a lot of the kills that I land at higher rating. It's really not great if depending on how you use it. It is truly like a skill ability. You don't want to use it when someone's 100% HP because they're not getting healed and it has no value. You want to use it when they're low HP and big heals are incoming. So that one I think is super good to play. But if you don't play that, you probably are going to be looking for something more damage based, like Void Origins, not having to worry about faking a kick, for example. So not to go into Void form, you have to cast it, and by playing Void Origins, you can go into Void form, you can Damnation, and then use your Unfurling proc, and you just set up a bunch of damage without casting. So I think that one is more friendly if you're new to a Shadow Priest and you don't want to deal with a lot of interrupts. So you might
Mhm.
instant lock Void Origins every time if you're having trouble doing damage.
All
I
right.
tend to not take this talent personally, just because I feel like I'm at the point in the game where I can play around the interrupts. I can coordinate with my team, so every time I need to void form, we have CC on the other two, so they don't interrupt me. Just trying to get more value out of those other talents.
Makes sense. So I guess in the lower level games where perhaps you are less able to rely on teammates, then
Mhm.
Void Origins would also be really good for that way.
Yeah, it's an amazing talent. I mean, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like void form used to be instant baseline, or it was a talent on the other row. And the way I remember, like I barely played in Legion, I didn't really play it, but I remember it never having to be casted. So that one, I think most people are going to be comfortable with that, just to be able to put that damage out instantly.
Yeah. That makes sense. All right. Any others? What about improved Master Spell?
Yeah, that one's going to be super strong. That talent probably deserves a nerf in some regard too. It's super good against any magical team. Like if a team has a magical spell, like
Mhm.
polymorph or freezing trap from a hunter, I always play fast MD into hunters, and I always play fast MD into mages. That's just going to prevent CC on your healer. The cast time is so fast, and then not to mention the other haste stamps that you can have with having power infusion up. It's like I try to have people kicking in duels, and it's like a 0.1 second cast. It's really difficult.
Oh my
So that
God.
one, it also takes like just like Siphene, it's not going to be good unless you are really good at managing your mana. So when we talked
Mhm.
about spam purging before, like it does use mana, but the problem is your mana regenerates so fast that you're able to always purge. Your mana won't regen fast enough for the master spell to go off. So if you're facing a Resto Druid team and you want to be master spelling the cyclones, you have to kind of chill back on the purging for a bit. Otherwise, you won't have the mana to do it. So if you're not using that on cooldown, you might as well just play the regular MD talent.
Okay.
But yeah, Siphoned and Fast MD, I would say I take those for most matchups against any caster team. That's like a safe pick for sure. And I do have a video discussing PvP talents too, if people want to check that out at a different time for like further analysis.
I like it. Okay. Uh, is there anything that I missed there, Big? Anything else?
Um, I
It
don't
was
think so. I mean, I haven't. What about Driven? Did we talk about Driven to Madness?
no, I don't think we
Yeah.
did.
This is a really cool talent, and I noticed that the only other Shadow Priest that I see played a lot was Jaw because he loves doing damage. And if you want the biggest damage build without having that utility of the Mass Dispel and even like we didn't talk about Void Shift yet, really like that. That's also great talent into certain comps. If you want to do the most damage you possibly can, you play Driven to Madness when you're getting trained, and it's going to reset the cooldown of Void Form every time you get attacked. It reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds. And if you're getting attacked by, say you're facing Jungle Cleave, right? You're getting hit by the Hunter, which is one person. You're getting hit by 2 of the Hunter pets, which is now 3 people. Then you're getting hit by the Feral, which is 4. You're getting hit by the Priest, so you're getting hit by 5 people. So if they both attack you in one global, that's 15 seconds on Void Form. So I've literally like entered Void Form, done my DPS rotation, I get out of Void Form, and then 30 seconds later, I'm back in Void Form. And it's really difficult for them to heal that. The only problem is you're then sacrificing your ability to reliably mass dispel those traps, and you're also sacrificing the Siphene. So you can do all the damage you want, but if it's getting healed through by like a big frenzied regen, you're not going to land the kill. It's super good into teams that train you, and chances are if you're playing with a melee DPS, you're going to play, you're going to get trained. So Driven to Madness is a good pick in that way. And a lot of the times when I face teams where my goal is to do as much damage and one on mana, like Turbo Cleave, for example, I know I'm going to get trained. I just want to stay in Void form, so I'm going to combo Driven with Void Origins and do as much DPS as I can and just be in and out of Void form the whole game, pretty much.
Trivia question.
Mhm.
What about Windwalker images? Does that also count?
Yeah. Especially Windwalker. Oh, don't get me started on Windwalkers, but yeah, anything that is like hit anything on your combat log that is an attack and not like it doesn't register on dot ticks. Like if a priest dots you, you're not gonna actually reset void form by getting ticked on by dots. It's gonna be like almost like a manual application of a spell or
Okay.
an ability. So if a
The first
Windwalker
hit.
presses
Yeah.
if a Windwalker presses RSK and his I don't know how many images they get, 2 or 3, they also do it. Yeah, that's gonna actually I didn't even think about playing against Windwalkers. That would be really good too.
Yeah,
And if
if they spinning crane kick you with images up, it's like completely reset. Like,
yeah, your void form will be off cooldown in the next arena because you're already dead. It's great.
Beat me to it.
Yeah.
Oof. All right. So what about you mentioned one other one, Void Shift?
Yeah, void shift. That's people tend to never play it because WizK, like widely regarded as the most successful and best Shadow Priest on North America, never plays it. But it's actually really good. And it's just not good in like some tournament settings, but if you're playing against fire mages and their win condition is force your trinket and then combust on you and kill you, like on your healer, having swap is going to enable you to just rotate your cooldowns back. Why we call it void shift swap because it used to be called void swap maybe, or maybe we just always called it swap because you swap HP. So I play that into like exclusively RMP. That's maybe I played into like Windwalker Fire Mage sometimes, but I typically play it into teams where I know like we don't have enough defensives to survive their onslaught, and having swap is gonna like completely allow us to reset our cooldown. So your healer doesn't have trinket for 30 seconds. They get KD'd, they get combusted on. You're gonna time your trinket. You're always gonna trinket to press swap. You never want to trinket before then because otherwise you'll get CC'd and can't use it, and you'll basically live to see another day against RMP. So I would say most Shadow Priests now are gonna lock that into RMP, and they rightly so they should.
So, the question then: who do you swap health with? The healer or the other teammate, or does it depend?
Well, if you're dying, then it doesn't matter. Typically you want to do it onto someone that has defensives to survive themselves if they're training you. But typically we're using it to save our teammates. Like we're often not the target against RMP because our disperse is such a short cooldown, like we talked about. And we also have Fade and the Necro Shield. So RMP has a lot to go through us. Like they can force our trinket, but then we still have that save while we're stunned. We can disperse. Resto Shaman, for example, while they're stunned, there's nothing they can do. They're going to die 100% to 0. So that's why I take that. talent to mostly use it on my teammates rather than myself. Although it could be used on yourself, or if you're dying and you have no cooldowns besides swap, like yeah, go ahead and use it on whoever is in the best position and has the most cooldowns to survive.
Okay, makes sense. I was gonna wonder about that because like, do you do it on your healer? Because then your healer might die, and then they're trying to heal you and themselves, and just
Right? Yeah, it's tricky.
Kind of play on the shift, or I think that's all of them. Oh wait, sorry. Thought Steal. What are your thoughts on Thought Steal?
Oh, Thought is super fun to play. That one is I would mostly take it versus mages, and if nothing else, just to tilt them. Like it's mage. I hate getting Thought to my mage. It's so upsetting to not be able to polymorph.
It's so
It does like
confusing. It's like you don't
yeah,
know
you
what's
sit there, you press your button, you're like what? Like what is not in line? I don't know. But I've been told, like I played with if anyone knows who Brown is, Angry Cuban X on the 3v3 ladder. He told me like just play Thoughtsteal into mages. So when we do our setups, we don't get spam sheeped. He's like, we don't need swap to live. Like he's a good enough healer that we have enough cooldowns to rotate. So he just told me to play that into mages, and I would steal polymorph from the mage, and then my mage would sheep the healer, and I would sheep the mage, and we would just have so much CC, and they couldn't do anything to shut us down. Because even if I get kicked on sheep, then all of a sudden I'm open to free cast my shadow damage. So that one's super fun into mages. It is like definitely, again, it takes a lot of these talents take like a lot of skill to use. They're really like situational, and if you're not using them at the right times, they're not going to accomplish anything for you. I don't often take Thought Steal, but when I have taken it, I felt like I was doing something really powerful.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun to play. It's really good if you're a healer, for sure. Disc priests like to take it a lot.
I can imagine. I like the sound of it. I have to admit, like when I first read it, I was like, "Ooh, that's so many different applications." Like I got excited about it. So
the thing that's annoying though is like certain classes don't give you anything. Like you'll literally use it from a shaman and you get frost shock, and it's like, great, they don't even press that in arena. Like, oh no, the shaman can't frost shock. What's gonna happen? But it's also, I don't think a lot of people play this, but into resto druids, if you purge all their hots and you put Thoughtsteal on them, they can't rejuve, and they basically have like no meaningful way to like get their healing rotation back in sync. I played it like one time, and this guy started messaging me some really toxic things, which leads me to believe that it's good, but I haven't found situations where it's better than the other talents. So maybe I'll play with it more.
I'm biased. I think people should I think every priest should play it into Resto Druids. Like it feels so impossible.
That would explain the like various amounts of hate mail that I was getting, but
because you can only really overgrowth or spam regrowth, and it's like both of those feel like bad. Like it sucks to just have to overgrowth to deal with Thoughtsteal. Yeah, it's really punishing. Like super punishing.
To gauge how important a talent is by how much hate mail you get after using it on a player.
True.
I like it. All right. Let's get into the next part of looking now that we have these parts. These are the nuts and bolts, but we're in Shadowlands, right? That there's the borrowed power aspect. There's all this other stuff that's in this expansion that helps makes our classes tick, right? Gives us the powers that we have. So first and foremost, of course, is the Covenant. All important conversation of what Covenant should I like? Who should I promise to join in forces with, and that they would imbue their power onto me? So
it's 100% the Necrolords. The Primus is my true savior, and he protects me in all aspects of life. I know that if I ever fall, that he's there to catch me with his really embracing, warm, and gentle hands. He gives me so much power and strength in my day-to-day activities. Like, I'll be waiting in line at the DMV to get my license up renewed, and I'm just so like mad and I want to leave, but I'm like, no, wait, the Primus has a plan for me. I know that I must do this. This is fine. And then I'm like, I'm renewed with energy, and all of a sudden, like, life is a little brighter, and I can see the colors better. I'm nicer to people through the Primus. He really he bleeds through in all aspects of my life. And the thing about the Primus is it's not just about the individual for him. It's not like he's just doing it for me so I can worship him. He wants all of us to succeed together, and through us joining his love and his power together, we're going to be more powerful as a society. So it's Necrolord hands down.
So when is the Church of Necrolord coming to a town near us?
I mean, you can hit up the Primus any day. He's there for you. He's always there for you, and that's the thing. You can at any moment set your Hearthstone to the seat of the Primus, and he's just there waiting.
I love it. I love it. What? So why not any of the other ones? I have to seriously ask.
Yeah. I think it's funny. You think I'm joking, but basically,
No, you actually
other
sound
than
really serious. I appreciate that.
other than his eternal love and support and all knowingness, the reason why most like you didn't see a Necro Shadow Priest last season. It wasn't on the table. No one looked at that and thought, okay, that's good. The reason why, if you're not Necro already, like you're messing up. Like get on point. But the reason why you're going to see most people play Necro is because of this new legendary that was introduced called Pallid Command.
Yes.
And so the Necro ability, the Covenant ability, obviously you have Fleshcraft. That's kind of the baseline thing that everyone gets. But the pre-specific ability is Unholy Nova, which is essentially just another dot. And with the legendary, upon the application of this dot, you summon your boy, who I call Jamal or Jamar.
Mm-hmm.
One of those. His name depends on his mood, but it's basically like a little, like almost like those DK mages that just spam like bolts. I don't know what they're called for unholy DKs, but it looks precisely like that. They just sit there and like they just spew. They're spewing and they cast so fast and they run so fast. And the legendary, I'm just gonna read the tooltip out. Casting Unholy Nova summons a Rattling Mage, aka Jamal, which gains 2% additional damage and healing each time an enemy affected by Unholy Transfusion is damaged by an ally. So these stacks increase the mage's damage by 2% per hit, and this is up to 100%. So if he gets hit 50 times over the course of those 20 seconds, he's going to be hitting really hard at the end. And this is passive damage that is applied whether or not you're CC'd, so you can put up your dots, throw the thing out, and as long as your friends are hitting him, your mage is going to be boosting damage.
Yeah.
And it's also an AoE, like it distributes. It's like a thing on the ground. You throw it out, and it spreads to nearby people. So as long as they're like near each other, you can put it on multiple people. And a pro tip that I think PvEers do is they mind sear like in a big stack of mobs. So say I'm placing against I don't know, another like 100 team with a lot of pets, I can throw out the Unholy Transfusion, and then I can press Mind Sear once, and that'll count as 5 hits, so that'll ramp his damage by instantly 10%. And then if it, every time it ticks, it's 2 more percent. So you get a lot of passive damage, and it's a massive DPS increase. Like it's night and day. And I know for sure that I would not be the highest rated Shadow Priest in the world if I wasn't Necro, because I was previously playing Venthyr and I was like 500 rating lower. And then all of a sudden I went Necro, and my DPS went from 2.5k to like 5k in the opener. So it's so powerful. And you can look at the damage breakdowns of Shadow Priest. It has it can certainly be, there's counters to it, like the disease itself, Unholy Nova, is dispellable by monks, paladins, and priests. Fortunately, even the highest rated players in the game do not have the like foresight or awareness or understanding that, oh, if I dispel this disease, it'll stop the damage from ramping. So I don't know how many 3k rated ret paladins or windwalkers are listening to this, but I doubt that they will even remember what I'm saying, because nobody does it. I mean, there's like 1 or 2 teams in the tournaments that do it.
I actually made a video recently, and I included how to make a weak aura to show the debuff.
Oh,
So
yeah, we need to take that down. How much we need to pay?
open your wallet.
Yeah.
But I'm sure what some people are wondering is like, well, why are Shadow Priest switching from Venthyr? And correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of it has to do with what you just said, like the damage, but more importantly, the consistency of Necrolord. Like it's guaranteed damage compared to mind games, which you tap to cast and interrupt it and slame.
People play the whole game around not letting you get a mind games off, whereas you throw out the Necro ability and boom, your damage is flying for 20 seconds. And it's just a good feeling to know that the Primus has his assistants there to help you. Like it's the Oozling is out, you get your skeleton, and then also the power of the Primus. And also, I think one thing that maybe I didn't mention is that the conduit trees just seem to be good for Shadow Priest as well. You have Fleshcraft being really awesome, giving you the heal and the shield. I don't know. It just seems like the Venthyr is getting harder and harder to justify based on how squishy we are, and Necrolord gives us not only the extra tankiness, but the ability to like stand in someone's face and just deal effective damage.
I'm gonna say something bold. I think well, it's probably not actually bold. This is probably a not even a hot take. Necrolord is like in general the lazy covenant. Like you don't like it's really easy to use for any of the classes that can
Yeah.
benefit from it. Like it just seems like all the other covenants are infinitely harder. Like there's mind. You have to cast mind games. You have to think about like Fey Guardians. Like you're not gonna like think about that like in the middle of an arena. Like oh, I need a powered like Necrolord. It's just one. It's for most of the classes that can play it. It's just one easy button that you don't sit and forget. And like Fleshcraft, it's like two. You put it on, you forget about it, and then your weak aura tells you to reapply it or whatever. And it's very simple, simple stuff.
Yeah, it may seem like that from the outside, but having met the Primus myself, I know that the work that he's put in for millennia is actually what's contributed to our easy lifestyle here. He's put in a lot of work for us, and so we're able to play in a way that makes us live comfortably, I'd say. And it's because of his hard work, so we can't discount that.
That's right.
So just if anybody's wondering, that's at Bigmoran IRL on Twitter. That's at Bigmoran IRL. Send your hate messages there.
Whoa. Okay. The Primus promotes love over hate. So let's get that straight.
I'm kidding. Well, sorry. So you mentioned the conduits. So why don't we delve into those? So if Necrolord is the one all be all, then is there a specific soulbind in there? And what are you putting in for conduits there to boost your power?
Yeah. Whew. I mean, to be honest, this is not my area of expertise because last season I didn't have really any conduits, and I haven't even unlocked the other two soulbinds. So perhaps we can phone a friend on this, but I'm pretty sure you always want to play the first one, Marilith, just for that bonus Fleshcraft and Kevin's Oozling. I'm just now reading the other two for the first time. They don't seem very good. When you damage an enemy that's below 35% health, 3% of the damage done is repeated over 5 seconds. Ooh, if we did larger hits, maybe, I don't know.
I think the only reason you'd go Bonesmith is for the stacking mastery buff, which is kind of hard to maintain in arena unless there's like a lot of pets. It's probably you probably go Bonesmith and RBGs for sure because of the mastery buff. So what you get as Bonesmith is you get every time you attack someone you get 137 mastery for 5 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times. But you can't refresh it infinitely on targets. You can only refresh it on a unique target, which is why you need a lot of things in arena for that to be good. But yeah, Plague Divisor just seems pretty much BIS for any Necrolord player.
Right.
It just like Kevin's Oozling, the 6% damage. I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot, but man, that like is a significant amount.
Yeah, it's huge, especially when we have so many other damage modifiers with haste and void form and stuff. It's just kind of overwhelming, I think. And it's also an extra nameplate. Like if anything, just more nameplates the better. Clutter the arena, make it so people can't focus.
Yeah.
So Chad is agreeing that apparently the others are kind of dookie. Love that. All right, so what are we getting for conduits then? If we're just going with Plague Divisor as the one all be all, what do you run there, Alex?
None of the conduits are, at least the potency ones, are like especially amazing for Shadow Priest, which is why I think I got the highest arena rating you can get without having proper conduits. But I think the Unholy or the Festering Transfusion one is just gonna give you more damage, 10% more damage at 226 is my tooltip. That's the first one that I would enhance. I think that one probably provides the most utility. The second one, we'll just do it in terms of potency first, because you get 3 potencies, right? So you'll play Haunting Apparitions, which we talked about earlier, more shadowy apparitions damage, and that's just more passive damage. And then the last one you can actually get from the PvP vendor, which is pretty cool. And it doesn't matter really what item level it is, but Void Bolt deals 15% more damage. And when you're not in Void form, if you're Mind Flaying, you have a chance to proc a Void Bolt. And if you're playing that Hungering Void, that's just an instance where you can get a random 10% damage buff. So that one's pretty fun to play. They've nerfed it a couple times, I think. So I don't know. That it seems like getting more item level on the conduit doesn't increase the damage. It's still going to deal 15% damage, but you just have a slightly higher percent chance to proc that void bolt while you're mind flaying.
Huh. That's kind of funny.
And the finesse one, this one actually relates back to what we were talking about with dispelling. You have Dispel Magic, Purify, and Mass Dispel cost 24% less mana, and you can also get that from the PvP vendor. So these are just two of our greatest conduits that once you're fully geared, you can just buy with Conquest, which is pretty sweet. Then
Nice.
the next one you use, I think, is the I think that's the old. No, you also use the. There's one you have to get this one from a raid, which I can't believe that I was able to do. I did an LFR. It's a leap of faith cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds, and grip is a minute 30. So having a 30 seconds off on your grip is going to be really helpful for your team, getting them out of hairy situations.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's a really great conduit.
That's
would
the
definitely
move with
recommend
the
getting
move
that.
with Grace one there. Is that it?
Yeah, move with grace. I would use that. And
Mhm.
then as far as the endurance goes, they're not none of those are really that great. I think I use the Desperate Prayer one, which is Light's Inspirations. It heals you for an additional 10% over 5%. It's minuscule, it's minor, but it that healing adds up to mana
Yeah.
for your healer, so I would use that for sure.
All right. Makes sense. All right. Big. Why don't you take on to the next? I've been talking too much. You need to
So
talk more.
yeah, sure, sure thing. So we're gonna move on to legendaries, and I know since you're Necrolord, you have the
Mhm.
Necrolord specific legendary. I know Shatterproof kind of have a few different options,
Yeah.
right? You have the one with Shadowmen, which is a really defensive one. You have Twins of the Sun Priestess as a potential option, and then, as I just mentioned, Pallid Command. So between those three, or if there's perhaps another one, which ones do you typically play with?
So if you're Necro, you always take the Paladin one. You never change, really. It's just like you're Necro for that legendary, I feel like, so you never swap that. But in the instance that gets nerfed, or if you're Venthyr, I think the Twins one is super good. That I played that probably the most out of the others, just because it's extra damage for your team, and it's also going to matter depending on if you're facing a team with Purge, or like you don't want a mage to spell steal your power infusion and your teammates' power infusion. Can be kind of hairy. But I loved playing it with mages because it helps them farm combust back faster. It's good pairing it with a warlock to give your warlock power infusion, and they pop demon soul and they have like boom 50 60 extra percent haste or whatever it is. I liked it with a rogue weirdly too. It seemed like some classes don't benefit that much from haste, so maybe it's so weird. It seems like there wasn't like a really good legendary, and like you could play whatever and like still kind of like do the same. The Shadowmend one, you see that often in the tournaments with the mage Shadow Priest coming out with like the ultra damp playstyle. They kind of just play to win and damp you, and the priest can 140k heal. That's so much mana for your healer, and you can even save that heal. Your healer goes for a drink, you Shadowmend your mage, and voila, dampening. So I think that's like what most dampeners play, and the Twins would be the more aggressive pick. And then lastly, Sefu's really get into Rogue Mage. I played that a lot in Rogue Mage with him when I'm Venthyr.
Nice. And I know there's a Reddit post a while back about the Painbreaker Psalm legendary. I don't think many people play. I don't think really anyone plays it competitively, but have you looked into any of the other legendaries that people probably aren't using right now?
No, but I did get destroyed by a priest that was playing that. I was playing at like 1800 on my rogue. I was first gearing my rogue, and this guy like completely melted me. So I think that could be like a nutty combo if you like do all your damage properly. It is a little clunky to have to use Shadow Word Death as like part of your burst rotation, because ideally you use that when they're low. And for people that don't know, the Painbreaker one is when you death, it consumes all your dots, right? So you basically like power infusion, put all your dots up, death, and then it hits them wicked hard. It can hit for like, I don't know, probably 10k or so. Yeah.
There's all these gimmicky things that are in the game that like no one really is
No one's
ready
gonna
for.
sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants to farm that many legendaries on a priest, so I think that
No.
isn't played. But I would say yeah, that one, and in instances where you don't want to dampen and the purge is a factor for the double PI. Yeah, sure. Why not play that one? It seems like a great way to deal damage effectively, and it just gives you some like a little extra like burst outside of void form. So I'm sure that one is slept on for sure.
I was under the impression that at some point we're going to be allowed to carry 2 legendaries, not just one.
Oh yeah.
So aside from Pally Command, what's the other one that you would say is like the de facto?
Honestly, there's also one where if you use Leap of Faith, instead of gripping your target, it moves you to them, and it
Yep.
gives you 2 stacks. So you would have like a leap on a minute cooldown with 2 charges, and I feel like that would just be an insane pick against like a cleave team on a Z-axis map. Like it could be I don't know, say it's Blade's Edge, and I'm getting trained by like a warrior DK, and I jump up to my healer, and all of a sudden they're like stuck down there. Like that could be that one would be super fun to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, then yeah, I would just go with the other picks. Like if it's Rogue Mage, put Sepus on just to avoid CC. If it's a game you're trying to dampen with, the Shadowman one is going to be good as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That'd be interesting though to see it, like, because that would open up a little bit more for Necro Shadow Priest. I think if you're able to still have the damage of the legendary and then maybe the utility of the other ones too.
I'm wondering if they're also going to implement some new legendaries as well, just to change it up a little bit.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm
see.
sure they will with like a new raid if they do another raid soon.
Oh yeah, probably. Quick question. This is from chat. Which Necklord Soulbind makes a person as handsome as you?
Oh, well, the first one, because I don't have the other 2 unlocked. So
Okay, that was a fun one.
I feel
All
like
right.
that was from one of my friends, just trying to boost my confidence.
Probably was. All right. Next, stats. Since we're talking about gear, we went through it. What stats are you looking at?
Let me see. So in game right now, I'm chilling at 22% haste and 34% versatility. And I think that's a lot of verse. I think that's like probably enough. Maybe if I had the option to have a higher item level ring with more haste, I would like to be ideally like above 25% haste.
Okay.
But I don't want to lose all that verse from the PvP ring. So that's yeah, your stat priority is going to be versatility and haste. Once you're at like 30% verse, I would say you just go all the way out for haste. And then after that, mastery seems to be more beneficial than crit.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, crit's probably your least. Yeah,
Okay.
I would put crit last. I'm not sure what the PvE. It's honestly like whatever the PvE players do is probably going to be similar to PvP. But you
Okay.
definitely need more verse in PvP first.
Well, yeah. It makes more. I mean, the PvP gear automatically has more verse anyways. So
Right.
I'm just. So I guess So if you're looking at pieces, you're going to be focusing mostly on your haste mastery pieces, and then kind of go from there, eh?
Yeah, haste verse for sure. But
Okay.
also one more thing that's nice about the Necrolord legendary is it allows you to make it on the boots. So there's no boots in the game that come from like maybe there's from the raid now, but before you couldn't get any haste verse boots from PvP and you couldn't get any from dungeon. So it gives you that extra like 2% haste, which is super nice in my opinion. Like that was definitely a huge plus. That's just another example of the Primus looking out for us.
He's got our backs and our feet.
And ERP.
Speaking of the Primus, this is perfect actually. The chat's asking, how does one embrace the Primus? And in doing so, what could we predict the end result being?
So how can we embrace the Primus? I mean, you just have to go talk to the man, and like I can't speak for him, only you can talk to him. He's there waiting for you. You just have to do the work and talk to him. And I think once you have a couple of minutes with the man, he'll put you on the right path for sure. You can predict the end result, you being a stronger, better, kinder person, and you'll do more damage. And you'll have a lot of necro boys to game with too, and you can put your hands up when you fleshcraft.
Right.
I love it. I love it. You said you're troll. Is that
Yep.
is that like the the only one? Is that like do racials actually matter? Like,
Yeah, racials definitely matter. I wouldn't recommend troll. I kind of did that as a joke.
as it, were you being a troll?
Yeah, people are like in my chat like, should I go troll? And I always say no because I want to remain the number one troll male in all the World of Warcraft. I want to remain the highest rated troll. That's my plan. But it seems like most tournament priest rock panda because you get like 1% versatility and you get that extra instant CC. I've seen Wiz play a lot of gnome on the tournament realm because he is always the target, and like I said before, one of Shatterproof's biggest weakness is mobility, and you get like a little escape artist from the gnome.
Yeah.
So those are good picks. Horde Goblin is also fun because you get the Goblin jump, which is more mobility. You get to jump in for fears. I think a lot of PvEers default take that. You also get 1% haste. So I was Goblin before Troll. Yeah, the ratios are definitely good, and they're situational. Night Elf is really good because you get maledicted a lot as a priest, and you can meld to avoid CC. You can meld to avoid maledict. You'll typically see the higher rated players playing Night Elf or Panda on Alliance, and then on Horde it would be Goblin or Panda.
Okay. I'm actually kind of surprised. Normally it's always like Orc and then nothing else for every other class we've talked to. It seems like
you can't play Orc. It would be Orc, unfortunately. If you could play Orc Priest, I would be an Orc Sephu's Priest for sure.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. This one, I want Big knows more about this stuff than I do. So
Yeah, so let's talk about the best twos comps. I know Shadow Priests are kind of awkward in twos, but you have a few double DPS options. I know you have Feral Shadow Priest, which I think is pretty consistent, and then you have Mage Shadow Priest, is just pretty hard to play, but it is pretty good as well.
Yeah.
I think you could also play with like a Warlock. I know people were doing that in EU, or even like a Resto Druid. So what comps do you like to play in twos, and which ones do you think are best?
Yeah, double DPS is definitely the least like rage inducing because it's super fun. It's kind of like a mini threes game where you can set up kills and kind of slow the game down. It's really annoying playing with a healer because everyone's just gonna run away from you and you'll never kill them. I don't play twos often because I tend to like break my keyboard when I do it. But I'm probably higher rated than most people in twos, and I find definitely the most success playing with a Feral Druid, like you said, or a Boomkin also seems like a great alternative. Just something with a lot of off heals and ways to reset the game. Mage is really difficult to play with because they don't have like a lot of healing for you. They just have sheeps, I guess. One other comp I played that seemed really good was Shadow Priest Sub Rogue. Play with a good Sub Rogue, you have lots of instant CC. That's actually when you can rock the Mind Bomb because you can Mind Bomb off of every kidney shot, and you guys get insane crowd control. And then for healers, I think honestly I think Resto Shaman might be better than Druid just because they provide so much damage to the table with like Lobberus and the Dwayne. I know me and Dilbar typically win a lot when we do twos.
Yeah, and then you definitely want to play with the Resto Shaman a lot in threes, right? So I know you have like Warrior Shadow Priest, Boomkin Shadow Priest, Rogue Shadow Priest. What are some of the other good comps for Shadow Priest in threes, and what do you think is the best?
Okay, the best is definitely Mage Shadow Priest Druid. I would put that at the highest tier just because of the sheer volume of melee cleaves that play on the ladder, and you basically on paper counter like every melee cleave as a Rested Druid caster comp with a Mage and Shadow Priest. So that by default just wins. That's what you're going to see in the AWC primarily. There's going to be a lot of Mage Shadow Priest Druid picks on like bigger maps just to kind of like spread people out and one shot them with crazy stun setups. You don't honestly see a lot of Shadow Priest Resto Shaman on the ladder. Like I pointed this out the other day. I'm 3200 rated, and I looked at the next closest Shadow Priest Resto Shaman team that I had seen queuing on the ladder that I had queued into, and it was like 500 rating below. Like it's straight up, it's just not good because of the melee meta. If there was less melee and it was more casters, Shadow Priest Shaman would be broken, and you would see like an explosion of that. But with that being said, you can still play comps with a shaman, but typically everything is going to be better with the Resto Druid. I don't play with a shaman because they're the best. I just play with them because I know more shamans than druids. But I think Warrior Shadow Priest it would be my second pick. So God comp, Mage Shadow Priest is first, and then Warrior Shadow Priest would be the second best comp. It's just so tanky. Warriors are broken. You do a lot of damage. That one, I think I've had the most like success on the ladder playing that. Moonkin Shadow Priest, probably really broken with a druid. We played it one time with a druid, and that seemed insane. But you, same thing into God comp. Like it's really good into double melee, but in this case, Moonkins struggle against RMP. So if there's a lot of RMP playing, you're gonna lose to RMP. But that could easily be like on par with Mage Shadow Priest if there's only melee cleaves playing. And if there's everything playing, then Warrior Shadow Priest is probably more well-rounded. And RPS, I would probably put in like the third or fourth best comp. Lots of kill potential, crazy pressure. That's the comp that me and Nestor have been playing for a while. We really like that comp, but rogues are super squishy, and then it feels like they're bad into Warrior Cleave. So that's, again, one reason why Shadow Priest Resto Shaman I think is hard to pull off in the current state of things.
Yeah, and I think with the Rogue Shadow Priest or like RPS, your Rogue needs to be a damage pumper. Like they,
Yeah.
that's the strength of that comp is it's just like it's unhealable at a certain.
Yeah, it's all like the Shadow Priest Resto Shaman comps are all momentum based, which makes them really fun. Like you get ahead in the game, and it feels like the other team just can't they can't get topped off, they can't reset the game, they just kind of get rolled over, and it's super fun to me because that adds this element of like, oh, if we land a kick right here, we win. It's not the typical script of God comp, like, okay, you stun this guy, I Dragon's Breath this guy, and you Cyclone this guy. It's like we're all just like throwing our things out as they come up and like kind of playing off of each other. It's more like freestyle and less scripted, which I think the game is like the most fun when it's like that, where you can kind of play off of making a play rather than doing what like you're gonna get stunned in 30 seconds by a sub rogue, and your healer is gonna get instantly chastised. It's unavoidable. With the RPS, you actually kind of have to make plays to win, and that's why WizK and Peekaboo are actually succeeding. Like they got second place in the AWC when they're the only people in the whole tournament playing the comp, because like the comp itself isn't great, but if you take the individual players and let them do their own thing and they can make plays happen, it's super fun to play. I played on my Rogue too, actually, a lot, and it's fun.
You just mentioned Peekaboo and WizK. Those are obviously really good players. And focusing a little bit on Shadow Priest, what do you think it takes to be a good Shadow Priest? Like, what separates a good Shadow Priest or pro Shadow Priest from just your average ladder queuing Shadow Priest?
Yeah, the tournament Shadow Priest have that extra like defensively minded part of their brains where they're gonna use something to mess you up so that you don't have to trade, and it's extra defensive cooldown. They're going to be super coordinated with their teams. They're never going to stun or silence the healer unless there's something meaningful to be paired with it, like damage from their teammate or an extra stun on the enemy to try to line something up. Positioning, I think, is also part of that. You'll see really good Shadow Priest, such as Wiz or Valet on EU. They're gonna play in a way where if you try to chase them, you're gonna get punished, and probably after that kind of healer mindset, you also need to be able to do damage. Like it's straight up not easy to compete with the damage of a Ret Paladin or a Warrior or a PM Hunter on a Shadow Priest. Like you really have to be on point with faking interrupts. You have to, when you're in Void form, you need to do your rotation properly. You can't miss globals. You got to Void Bolt on cooldown. You don't want to get kicked while you're in Void form. There's just like you'll definitely notice the difference between playing against WizK and another priest, because he's going to play every single talent that allows him to do more damage than the enemy team, and that's why they do so well, I think.
And then speaking of this, so a lot of having aspirations to be as good as like WizK, it's pretty hard for your average player to ever become that good. But what are some things that you'd tell like a beginner Shadow Priest, like one or two things that they should be focusing on in their gameplay that can maybe elevate them to like gladiator level if they're trying to get that? What is one or two things you'd tell them?
First thing, go to my YouTube channel, because I have crazy guides on every situation possible, every comp. I played every comp. I'm the highest rated Shadow Priest because I'm the only one that is crazy enough to still play in this world of getting trained. My second piece of advice, if you're not going to watch my videos, is make sure that every time you use your Psychic Core and Silence, that it actually produces a meaningful result from the game. Don't just send your CC because it's off cooldown. make sure that it's paired with something that's going to net you defensive cooldown from the enemy team. And sometimes that means waiting the extra 3 or 4 seconds so that your partner's not in CC or their damage is ready or whatever. Their trinkets are not up in time. Like you want to be coordinated and calculated, have effective communication, and always play off of your team because they're rarely going to solo someone as a Shadow Priest. You need to play together as a team. So get good with your comms and make good friends with I don't know, a mage or a warrior or something.
And then I guess the flip side, so we know now what the win condition of Shadow Priest is, having effective stun silences.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's looking to counter a Shadow Priest, what is one of the things that they could do to counter your spec?
Ooh. The thing that definitely tilts me the most is getting CC'd on my Void form. Getting the classic combo where you line of sight forever and then you jump out and fleshcraft, like that's super annoying. The Shadow Priest CC is annoying and it's instant, but it's also predictable. There's ways to play around it. If you know that the priest is going to have CC, you can try to react with like, okay, I see the priest is just horde my healer, and now it's time to blade storm so I don't get stunned. Or oh, the priest is pushing for CC, now I'm gonna shut him down. But definitely dispelling that disease. That's probably the number one thing you could do. Saving your interrupts for those massive spells that are wicked fast. A lot of people like to kick random things, and I'll just MD a trap. And then just train them into the ground. Play like a melee cleave and just sit on them, and it's going to be annoying. Rotate your interrupts, don't overlap them. Priests are going to struggle to deal damage if they're just getting railed all game.
That's right. That's the Shadowlands experience.
Yeah.
Getting trained all game. So stepping a little bit away from Shadow Priest, you can include Shadow Priest in this next question, but we always like to ask our guests, if you had unlimited money or influence, you could have Blizzard do whatever they want, put whatever they want in the game, change anything in the game right now. What is the one thing you would change about World of Warcraft? Once again, you could include Shadow Priest, or you don't necessarily have to.
What's the one thing I would change? The first thing that comes to mind is like, let me play my alts. I mean, I got better at the game in Cataclysm because I could say this, I guess, because I got banned for it. I botted like literally all the characters. I got full gear on all my characters, and that enabled me. Like I got 2200 on my mage, I got 2200 on my Shadow Priest, Resto Druid. I played Death Knight, I played Rogue, I played Paladin. It was like getting to play all these other classes really expanded my knowledge of the game and how to get along with other classes because I kind of had an insight to what they needed me to do. That was super fun. It also keeps it fresh and learning. Like at this point, I face the same 2 or 3 teams on the ladder every night, and it's not really new and exciting because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm Warrior Shadow Priest into jungle. Wow, I beat this team yesterday. Wow, I'm gonna beat them again. Like there's nothing exciting to me about that. What's really fun for me is learning, and I think that is just pervasive across all people. Like whatever they're doing, they want to learn and excel in what they're doing, and playing like a new class to me is super rewarding, and learning how to do things better. And even playing it, like I would love to play a monk, like a Windwalker right now. I'd love to play it like 1800 and just annihilate people. I feel like that would be super fun. Yeah, I would say fix the gear and make it playable for being able to play more than one class.
All right. Fix the alts. I like it.
Yeah.
Big, do you have one, or do you want me to go next?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I generally agree with it. I think this is the answer I say every time. Yeah, just make the game more accessible to anyone who just wants to press play. Like
Yeah.
I genuinely think like the biggest thing WoW PvP needs is just a play button. Create a character; it already has everything set up for you. You just need to set your binds, pick your talents, and you're ready to go. I think that's the one huge thing that is needed more than anything else for WoW PvP.
I like it. One thing I would change is I would have them change the graphics on Shadow Priest. So instead of them always being kind of like blacky, blue, smoky or whatever, have that dependent on how much insanity they have. So they're like kind of like a gray wispy maybe. Like so it's kind of light, but then as they gain insanity, they're almost like a battery. Like it starts at their feet, and then like once they reach 100, like it just travels up their whole form. So then they're fully blacky blue or whatever. And then when you guys do your void form or whatever and just like expend all your insanity all at once, then you just kind of drain out again.
Yeah, that would be sweet because it would actually make it look like having insanity would help us do damage. But it turns out the insanity thing has gotten nerfed so much to the point where
Oh yeah.
it's like it's so sad that it doesn't do damage. If I could add one more thing I would change, it would be make Mind Blast do damage, because then, like I said, it would open up all those other talents, and then it would also give you like that big crit opportunity that I think every other class like lives for.
Yeah. I think a lot of people really enjoy that feeling where they get off that one hit and just like burr, and it just feels rewarding. But all right. Well, let's get into the WoW PvP news and close this out and say goodnight.
All right! Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
All right. I finally got the sounders working. Ah! All right.
Nice.
Yeah. Figured out what was wrong. But that's my news. But for actual WoW PvP news, so the MDI Last Stand finished on October the 3rd. So this was the battle of for the last spot for the globals, right? So this went to Team Ambition under the Golden Guardians, and that was Nerf Tank, Ellesmere, JPC the Man, and one Zio, and Asna QT. So they won, and they like just squeaked by. If I remember from what I watched, it was the second Astra team from China was driving it hard. It looked like they were going to have first place right up and towards the end, and then Ambition just squeaked through on the last. So if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend. It was a wonderful weekend of mythic dungeons, and it was different than the standard cups. It was more like the Great Push. So teams were given 5 dungeons with set affixes, and they just had to keep pushing keys as hard as they could. So not push keys. Sorry, they had set keys as well, but they had to keep pushing the timing. So you actually saw them sometimes change how they were doing the dungeon and kind of playing around, like doing some different pathing in that and trying some different stuff live. So you're watching them try to troubleshoot on how they're going to be able to get through that dungeon the fastest way possible, while hitting all the milestones of killing all the bosses, getting enough trash killed, and everything else. So highly recommend if that's your bag, go and check it out. The next one, Flark, our friend Flark, also hosted another 3v3 tournament back on the 9th. So I was talking with Flark about this. He doesn't have a set timing on it. He doesn't know when he's going to do them. He just does them. So I mean, honestly, you're going to have to go over to his Discord and be on there and just keep an eye out for the alerts when he does them. But he did one on the 9th. So solo queue, prize pool $300, and that went to Rec, Robohands, and some S Priest. So they won that, which I didn't get a chance to watch the end, but I'll admit the parts that I watched were again a complete blast. It was really fun. And again, you don't need a team to sign up to it. Just solo queue to it, and he makes you a team, which in its own right is kind of fun. So there is also, as always, the hot fixes, and then some more hot fixes. Nothing really PvP. I didn't see any.
And really quick, I know this wasn't in the script, but Alex, since you're here, is there just really quickly, is there one hot fix you're looking for that Blizzard should do in the next few weeks?
Dude, they should
one thing.
They should nerf spinning crane kick like immediately, because I'm really sick of that. Warriors as a whole, just anything in general to warriors would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I'm enjoying the game. I mean, there's some things that are crazy, but the Windwalker is the most glaring, especially watching the tournament. Like, how could they not do anything when it was just like, oh, spinning crane kick, 1 second and they're dead? I just can't believe that went uncommented on. Like the nerf that they're doing isn't going to be enough. It's only 25%, and you're dying 100 to 0 in 1 second. So yeah, the spinning crane kick would. I don't even like play Windwalkers that much, but when I do, it's like that should be in the game.
Right.
I think even some of the Windwalkers are saying that.
Yeah. Oh, that's what Chun-Li says, and he's like one of the best in the game.
Yeah. Actually, sorry, one I think I missed. It happened just as we closed out the last episode. But people probably know they increased the amount of conquest being rewarded from all activities by 70%. So you get more conquest points, but you still have to grind the heck out of honor points. So
Yeah, they need to do an honor change to supplement that, and that would be a really good direction for the game.
yeah, I agree. Oh well, maybe next. Oh, maybe they will. We'll see what happens in 915. Actually, I think 915 they changed what the conquest and honor costs were going to be. So I think that's their resolution on that. I'd have to check on that if that's what's going to stick. But I'm pretty sure they reduced the cost of honor. But it's weird because when I looked at the PTR notes, the honor cost for the unrated gear was reduced slightly, but then it looked like they're using conquest points for the conquest gear, including ranking. I'm not sure on that. Could be wrong. I have to look. I could be wrong, guys. I have to look into that. So the way the patch notes for 915 read, it's a little confusing. Speaking of things that we need to read, David, D Machine, he left Blizzard.
Yeah, he made a Twitter post about that with a whole note to the community. So that's obviously pretty bittersweet, for everyone. And he's definitely well respected within the competitive scene as a whole. And for those who don't know, he was the product lead of WoW Esports. He started originally a monthly, I don't know if it was monthly or weekly stream or tournament, I'm sorry, called GCD TV back, I believe, in Missa Pandaria, or might have even been Warlords of Draenor at that point. And him and his girlfriend and a few friends of theirs kind of built up this weekly tournament, and eventually they got hired by Blizzard to work on WoW Esports, so they really helped develop that product at a time where there really wasn't anything going for WoW Esports. It was kind of dead for a while, and so they completely revitalized it. So definitely a big loss for all of us in the competitive scene, for sure.
Yeah,
indeed. That said, he's not the only person on the team. There's still quite the number of people there. I mean, we got Minor Poo and Adrian Healing Stat. They're both there, along with a number of other. Well, there's Anthony, who's doing the classic side, AV. So I know that there's still quite the team there at esports. But like I said, it's kind of the end of an era. Watching David, what he did as a community, then brought there. That said, he has also further tweeted to keep an eye out. He's still going to do some things, so we'll see what that is. So, but I know he is streaming more regularly, so that's a good thing. All right. So after that little shout out to David and kind of pouring one out for him, I guess Alex, do you have any shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to the necro gamers out there, and just anyone who takes Primus into their all walks of life. They're really gonna have a better time. Shout out to the people that support the stream at Stahp SP on Twitch. Very loyal subscribers and followers there. And just all my friends that do arena with me. Actually, fun fact, Bigmoran and I got Gladiator in, was it season 12?
Well,
We got Gladiator together in season 12, so we go way back. So
that's
awesome.
Shout out to Bigmoran for helping me come up on Tyke. Probably would have done it without him, but he was there nonetheless. Yeah.
Well, actually, I know who I'm gonna shout out now. I know who.
Super out.
Yes. So yeah,
he was a beast.
So yeah, I'm gonna shout out our partner who we played with named Ald.
He's definitely listening. He's been waiting for this podcast, the reunion.
Ald is one of the unsung heroes of World of Warcraft PvP. He was probably one of the best players of all time that no one knew about. He wasn't a very popular player, didn't stream or anything, but had a really good understanding of the game. Was arguably the best, if not one of the best mages in throughout Missa Pandaria. So really good player, really cool guy. Don't know what he's doing now, but whatever he's doing, I hope he's doing well. So that's my shout out to Ald.
Yes, he plays Hearthstone,
awesome.
I think.
Oh yeah, I think yeah.
Oh, are you guys going to go and play some Hearthstone and get yourself the mouse mount?
Maybe I'll dust off the old.
Hmm.
I'll press the install button on that on my
All right.
Blizzard launcher. I don't think I've played it forever.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a while either.
There's some with the new mercenary mode. I just remember seeing that announced today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to give a quick shout out to all of the listeners and all the subscribers and all the people that just give us love, chat in our Discord chat, send us emails, and interact with us on the Twitters. Love to you all, and thank you for being there. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we'd probably still be doing this, but it'd be a lot more boring for us. So we really appreciate you being there. So, stop. So just one last time, where can people find you on the interwebs? Pimp your stuff.
We got twitch.tv/StahpSP, youtube.com/StahpSP, and then also I just made a twitter.com/SPStahp. I try to throw people off, so that one's different. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on. It was super fun to talk about the Shatterproof life.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for agreeing to this. This was absolutely fun. Big, since we gave Stahp a chance to mention where everybody can find him, can you mention where people can find us?
So yeah, you can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Warcraft Radio Discord, and you can visit the Warcraft Radio website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at warcraftradio.com. The new directory also has a review system, so head over there and tell everyone what you think of our favorite shows, and I'm sure there'll be links to that available to anyone who wants them.
Of course. And I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Peace.
I
have to go to the bathroom so bad.